Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about all the summer books that I think you should check out this summer. Some of these books are new, some of them are old, some of them are by indie writers, some of them are books that I've read and I think you should check out, and some of them are just books that have been on my TBR for the longest time. So the first book I'm going to be talking to you guys about is Happy Place by Emily Henry. Now this book, I've had it on my TBR for the longest time. It's also a very popular book, so I'm going into this with high hopes reading it, so I really hope it lives up to the hype. So it talks about a couple who broke up but make a pact to pretend to still be together when they're going on their annual week-long vacation with their friends. So they go every year, they go on a week-long vacation with their college friends, and they're all couples and everything, and so not to make it awkward for anyone, they don't want anyone to know that they're broken up yet, so they make a pact to pretend to still be together. And so it's like a second chance fake dating, I guess you can call it, a summer romance, and I think that sounds really fun. The next book I'll be talking to you guys about is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I think I've read a book by her before. I don't remember the name of the book. It was something Lake. I'll put it up here once I find it. But yeah, I DNF'd this book. It just wasn't really grasping my attention. It wasn't anything interesting to me, so I DNF'd it. So I'm hoping, but I'm seeing a lot of people read this book this summer, so I'm hoping that it can change my mind, it can be redeemed for me, so hopefully this would be a good one. So basically this book talks about Percy and Sam. When Percy and Sam were 13 years old, Percy's family purchased the cottage next door to Sam. And so they grew up together and they fell in love, and then something happened causing them to break up and drift apart. And then there's a flash forward to years later where Percy is living the glamorous life as a magazine editor, and she gets the terrible news that Sam's mother died. So she goes back to Barry's Bay to attend the funeral, and she reunites with Sam, which is very hard for her because she's still not over him. So it's again like another second chance romance thing, and there's also a lot of, I've been told that there's a lot of time jumps in this book, so if you're not into that, I would just be aware of that. It reminded me, the whole time jump thing does remind me of People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I did like that book, but the timeline jumps thing was a little too confusing for me at some point. And then the next book is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I love this book. I read it recently. I was dying to read it. It was the first book I've read out of my whole TBR because I was just dying to read it because I've been hearing a lot of things about it. I have Abby Jimenez books on my TBR, but I've never had the chance to read them. So this was the first time I've ever read anything by hers, and I'm really glad. It was such a great experience. So Just for the Summer talks about Justin and Emma. They have a curse. Every time they date people and they break up, the people they dated end up finding the right person and end up getting married and leaving leaving them single, brokenhearted, and just not having the best love life. So Justin puts out a Reddit thread on like the Am I the Asshole thread, and he posted talking about it, and Emma saw it and she replied to him telling him that yeah, I have the same issue, the same thing happens to me all the time. And they kind of meet online, so it's like an online meet cute, and they talk and everything, and then they end up making a deal where they're gonna date each other to long enough to break the curse and set each other free, and that whole thing happens. It's really lighthearted. It's such a fun read. It does touch on some sensitive topics like family drama, a lot of childhood trauma, childhood neglect. It talks about that a lot, so those are some hard topics to read about, but it wasn't hard to read at all. It was still very lighthearted, very fun. It was such a wholesome read, and I definitely recommend this one. The next book is One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. I'm not sure how to say her last name, but it's this book. This book, I read the synopsis of it and it seemed very interesting. So Katie and her mom would go on like mother-daughter trips, but unfortunately when it came to time for this trip to Italy, Katie's mother passed away, leaving Katie alone to grieve. So when the time for their trip comes, she ends up going alone, and throughout the trip, she starts feeling her mother's spirit present. And at some point, she actually ends up meeting her mom's younger self. So she's meeting her mother when she was like in her 20s, like still like before she was a mom, before like when she was still very independent. And I thought that was so interesting. I've never heard of anything like that. So she was starting to getting to know her mom. So not only is she dealing with the grief, she's getting to know her mom as a different person. Like she's not just getting to know her mom as a mother, she's getting to know her mom as who she was when she was independent and traveling and like this fun like person. So I thought that was so interesting, and I've never seen anything like that, so I had to add it to my list, and I'm dying to read it. The next book is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. Now, I've read Sarah Adams before. I think I've read 2 of her books. There was one, what was it? The Cheat Sheet. That's what it was called. I didn't really like that one. I gave it a 3 stars. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. And then I read Practice Makes Perfect, which I did like. So yeah, this book, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it, and I really want to read it. I think it came out recently. So this book follows Nora and Derek. They're ex-college sweethearts. Derek is still a little salty over the breakup. He didn't like how it was ended, and he goes on to become a famous football player, I think football, and Nora is a sports agent, and later on Derek becomes Nora's first client as a sports agent, and because he's still holding a grudge over the breakup, he planned to make her life miserable. And after a crazy night, they got drunk and they wake up finding out that they're married. So it seemed like this book seems like a lot of fun. It seems like it's gonna be funny and humorous, so I'm dying to read this one. And I'm starting to really like the second chance romance books. I wasn't like usually looking for them, but I've been seeing a lot of them, especially in this list, and I think they're gonna be really fun. And this one sounds like it's gonna be sort of like a rom-com feel to it, so I'm excited. So the next book is Love Me Do by Lindsay Kelk. This book, I'm gonna try to explain it in a way where I'm not gonna be too confusing about it. So basically, Phoebe just got out of a toxic relationship, and she wanted to like have a little getaway with her sister in California for like 2 weeks. Her sister lives in California, so she goes to stay with her sister for 2 weeks to kind of refresh and kind of try to get over the relationship. But her sister suddenly needs to go on like an emergency meeting for her work, leaving Phoebe alone in her house, which is like a full vacation house. So later on, she meets the next door neighbor, Ren, and later on her sister's personal trainer, Belle. So she meets Ren and Belle. Ren, the next door neighbor, and Belle, her sister's personal trainer. Belle has a crush on Ren, but she doesn't know how to deal with it. She doesn't know how to tell him. She doesn't know how to talk to him. So Phoebe tries to help her write a letter telling Ren how she feels. Phoebe writes it. The letter works. Ren and Belle start going out, and Phoebe starts to realize that she's developing feelings for Ren. Kind of like complicated because she was helping her trying to get the guy, and now she's having feelings for the guy. And I'm pretty sure like this seems like a typical like a rom-com thing, so it seems interesting and I'm really excited to read it. The next book I'll be talking to you guys about is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. So this is another book by Sarah Adams, and I've been hearing so much about this book and I had to add it to my list. So Amelia Rose is like a pop star. She's given the title Princess of Pop, and she's just feeling completely burnt out. Like she is really tired of the whole glam life, being followed around and all of that. So she runs off to Rome, Kentucky. And her car breaks down in front of a house, and the owner of the house is a grumpy baker. A grumpy baker named Noah. So he is running his grandmother's small town bakery, and he wasn't, so like he invites her to stay against his better judgment. He wasn't really feeling it. He's not into that whole, like he's a small town guy. He's like, he enjoys the simple life. He's not into the whole glam thing. So when he saw her, he was like, I don't know. But he nevertheless lets her stay until her car gets fixed, and then he kind of becomes her tour guide around the small town. and like so she, from the cover of the book, I'm assuming she starts helping out in the bakery until like she has to eventually go back to her life. But yeah, no, this one seems very cute. It seems like going to be a very cozy read, so I'm very excited for this one. The next book is a book I've read before, and I've talked about this book before. Also, I didn't realize it was going to be, I talked about this book, People We Meet on Vacation. I thought it's a different book from You and Me. I don't know why. Like You and Me on Vacation, I don't know why the titles changed. So when I was like reading about this book, I was like, wait, the characters' names seem familiar. The plot looks familiar. I was like, wait, is this the same book? It turns out it was the same book. It's People We Meet on Vacation, also known as You and Me on Vacation. So Poppy and Alex are college best friends, and they go on vacation every summer until like something happened and they drifted apart. Years later, Poppy reaches out to Alex, and she ask him to go on one last vacation together. And then there's a lot of jumps back and forth in this book. I did like this book, so I definitely recommend it. So it's again like a friends to lovers, second chance sort of friendship thing. So yeah, it's really cool, and I really like this book. So the next book I'll be talking to you guys about is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I loved this book. I was actually really sad when I finished it. It was such a cozy read. It was such a fun read. So basically, I don't know, I'm starting to notice a lot of similar themes in my books. There's always someone passing away. A lot of the books I've read recently have had some sort of grief element in them. I don't know why. I don't know what this is telling me, but I'm starting to get a little concerned. Okay, my tripod keeps dying, so I had to do a little makeshift tripod to make sure that it doesn't keep dying on me when I'm talking. Anyways, so after Clementine's aunt passes away, she inherits her apartment in New York, but the only thing is she's not alone in the apartment. The apartment allows Clementine to go back in time and connect with someone who was renting the apartment 7 years before. And like the apartment acts like some sort of portal, but the thing is she can't really decide when she can go back in time and visit this person. Like the time only changes inside the apartment. So when she's in the apartment, she flashes back to 7 years ago, but as soon as she leaves, she's back in present day. So it's like a little time portal thing, just the apartment. The outside world remains in present time. So they get to know each other and they fall in love, but the thing is it's only in the past and not in the present. So this book is such an interesting take on like time travel, I guess you can say. It's magic realism. There's an element of grief. I really love this book. It's another 5 stars for me. I adored this book, and there's very few books where I'm sad when I finish reading it. I was so sad when I finished it. Like I wanted to be in the apartment, and like her style of writing was so lovely and descriptive, and she really tells you exactly what the apartment looks like without it being like overly detailed, but you can imagine what the apartment looks like, what they're feeling, how it's feeling, like everything. When I was reading the book, I just kept seeing golden. I just kept seeing golden when I was reading it, and I just loved it. The next book is The Summer Girl by Elle Kennedy. Now we know Elle Kennedy from her off-campus series, the Briar U series. We know the hockey romance books. But this is a different book. So this book follows Cassie Soul. She's a Briar U senior, so we're still sort of in the same universe. And she's going to Avalon Bay to spend time with her grandparents to kind of see the final restoration of the Beacon Hotel that her family is restoring. So she's looking for a sort of like a fun summer romance. She meets Tate Bartlett, her neighbor. She kind of offers him like a summer fling, like no strings attached thing, and he is attracted to her, but he turns her down because he is not really a relationship guy, and even though she's not asking for a relationship, he doesn't see her as like someone who can do like the no relationship, no strings attached thing. So he keeps turning her down, but he tells her that he can help her find a guy who would want to do that with her. So he tells her he just wants to be friends and doesn't think she can do the no relationship thing. So he like becomes her wingman instead and kind of helps her out find a guy. And when she does find a guy and she starts going out with the guy, he doesn't necessarily like it. He's not very happy. He gets jealous. So it's that sort of thing. I feel like that would be like a really fun, so it's like a summer fling kind of like, you can say friends to lovers thing, and it seems really interesting, and I love Elle Kennedy's books, so I'm excited to read this one. The final book I'll be talking to you guys about is a book I recently finished. It was the last book I've read, actually, and it's called After All This Time by Jessica Sidney. Now, Jessica Sidney, this is her debut book. She's an indie author who I've spoken to a couple of times, and she's super, super sweet, and I was really excited to read this book. So I found this book on Instagram. I found her page, and I'm not gonna lie, the cover alone like really drew me into this author. I thought like it was so pretty. I love the palette of the cover, and it just looked really cool. And when I read the tropes, I was like, that's it, no, I have to read this book. I'm so excited for it. And like I was posting about it a lot, and when the book finally came out, I immediately got my own copy. I was so excited to read it, and I finished it in like a day. So basically this book follows Danny and Noah. Danny and Noah are like childhood rivals. They grew up together, their families are really close. Their moms are best friends, and they reunited 5 years later after not seeing each other. Something unexpected happened. So Noah's dad and his sister got into a car accident, leaving Noah's sister, who's also Danny's best friend, in a coma, and his father passing away. So that kind of brings them together. Their moms are kind of like, please, like, stay together, watch out for each other, like, you're both going through a really hard time, like, and they start sort of trauma bonding, and that gets them closer. And they're both authors too, so they have like that sort of common element together. They have a lot in common, but they've always been rivals, so it was so they're always like butting heads, and they hated each other when they were younger, but not really. It's like the I hate you but not really thing. So yeah, so a lot of trauma bonding, a lot of healing, a lot of grief. And I really liked this book. I gave it 4 stars, and I think it's a great summer book. It's a coastal small town romance, and aside like this childhood rivals to lovers thing. So I really, really enjoyed this book. So that is my summer TBR list. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys find some new read out of these books. I think they're so fun, and I think they're gonna be really interesting to read. A lot of these I just skimmed through the synopsis, saw they were interesting, added them to my TBR. So and some of them I haven't been able to get a copy of them, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to actually read some of them, but I do have most of them in my, on my iPad. So I'm so excited for this summer's reads. I'm so excited for this summer's releases. There's a lot of books that are being released this summer that I've been dying to read. So that is all for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!